Okay, good evening, everyone. Get started here in just a minute. Good evening, good evening. It's going to be the lottery for the affordable units at 11 East Pleasant Street in Amherst. Get started here in just a moment. My name is David Cashman. I'm with SEB Housing, and I'll do the lottery drawing tonight, and I'll give you a little bit of background information on how we're going to do the drawing and what to expect going forward. Just give me just a sec here. All right, so 6:02, let's get started. A little bit of background information, then I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to do the drawing so you can see it, and then I'll take any questions that anyone may have. So we had a total of 9 completed applications from eligible households. I know there was a lot of income and asset and tax documentation that had to be submitted to demonstrate your eligibility, so great work for all the folks who were able to get all of that in. I know it's a lot, but you've certainly taken a very big step towards potentially being able to get one of these units. We do the lottery drawing so that we create waiting lists, and the waiting lists will be sent to you either later tonight or tomorrow morning. And the waiting lists show you where you are in line for a unit and when you'll get invited to apply for a lease. So let me just give you a little bit of information. Oh, someone says they can't hear me. Can other folks hear me?
Yes.
You can, okay. So that was just a direct message to me from this person, Glad OS. So I'm not sure what's going on. Sounds like other folks can hear me. Sorry if you're having trouble. I'm not quite sure why that would be. I might be able to.
I know at the beginning of the call, there's a little message that'll pop up that says raise your volume, and sometimes it's just the audio is completely off for that
Right.
user. So just check to see if they got that little pop up or a dialog box.
Right. And I just put on, Alex, I just put on the closed captions. Are you able to see those?
I do not see them.
Did you not see them? I wonder why that is. Closed caption control settings.
Hi, I just want to add that you can see the closed captions if the person who's listening clicks on the closed caption button on the very bottom. I think each person has to do it.
Got it. Got it. Thank you, Liz. Love when people help me with technology. All right, so yeah, if you hit the closed caption button, although I guess that doesn't help this person who can't hear me. Oh, you know what? I can just respond to them. I have, hold on one second, everyone. I have turned on, this I'm just talking as I type this out. I've turned on closed captions, hit the closed captions button on your end, and at least you'll be able to read what I'm saying if you can't hear me. Okay, so we'll do the lottery drawing, and then we'll sort the results to create the waiting list. And again, the waiting list, we'll send those to you. Those are going to have your lottery application numbers on them. They won't use your name or any identifying information. So I think you all probably have your lottery numbers, but if not, let me know and I can certainly get it to you. But it's A.001 through A.009. Those were we had 9 households in the lottery. So you find your lottery number on the waiting list we sent. There are going to be 4 separate waiting lists. There's different waiting lists for each bedroom type and AMI tier. As you know, there were 2 60% studio units at this development, and then there were 9 80% AMI units, studio 1 and 2 bedroom. So the first waiting list is a studio 60% list. 2 of those units, 3 applicants for them. There is 3 one-bedroom 80% units, and there were 4 applicants for those. There are 3 two-bedroom 80% units, and we had 2 applicants for those, so they're guaranteed both to have an invite forward. And there were 3 80% studio units, and there were 3 applicants for those, so also they will all be guaranteed at least an invite to move forward in the next step of the process. So when we send you the results tonight, and or tomorrow morning, we'll email those, and you will see the 4 separate waiting lists. If you're in green, that means you are definitely going to be invited forward in the next step of the process. If you're not in green, it means you may have to wait to see what happens with households who are higher on the waiting list before you might get an invite. As you may remember from filling out your application or from the informational materials for the lottery, there is a local preference in this lottery. And so by program rule, we have to do 2 separate lottery drawings. We have to do a local preference drawing, which includes I think it was 7 households qualified for local preference. And then we have to do a general drawing after that, which includes all 9 households, including the 7 I just mentioned. So we do a local drawing with 7 households. I'll show you that. Then we'll do a general drawing with all 9 households. I'll show you that too. If you're scratching your head saying that sounds redundant, it is. It really shouldn't be necessary. We could get the same results just doing 1 drawing, but the program says we have to do 2 separate ones, so we do. I will use random.org. Like I said, I'll share my screen. You can see it. It's a truly random way of, what am I trying to say? It is a way of generating truly randomized sequences of numbers that you put in, and it happens very quickly. Anyway, I'll show you that, and then if anyone misses, where they were called, I can certainly get that information for you too. When we reach out to you with the results, we will provide the contact information for the leasing office, so you'll know how to get in touch with them. We will provide your information to the leasing office so they know how to get in touch with you. And the next step of this process is that the leasing office will be inviting households to apply for leases. We've done the program eligibility screening to determine that everyone in the lottery meets the program criteria. But we have not done, nor do we ever do, lease screening. That's not our function. So we're not looking at the types of things that a leasing office might look at, like your credit history or landlord history or criminal background and some of those things. So just bear in mind, the lottery is a big step in the process. Having a high waiting list position, being invited forward, all good things. Don't give notice on your current place until you have passed the leasing office's lease screening criteria, because it's possible, and it certainly does happen, sometimes that households are program eligible, but they don't end up being lease eligible. And it'd be a shame if you gave notice only to find out that you weren't lease eligible. So sort of your interactions with SEB to date in the lottery is like big step 1, you've gotten this far, and the next big step is qualifying for a lease with the leasing office, and then if you pass that, setting a move-in date and moving in. The units will be offered based on where you are on a waiting list. So like specific units aren't tied to positions on a waiting list. So if you're the first household on a waiting list, the leasing office isn't going to say to you, you get unit 100 or you get unit 200. Rather, they'll say, you're the first household, as an example here, you're the first household on the studio list. We have 2 of those units. It's unit A and unit B. What's your preference? And if you take unit A, then the household behind you, if they're approved and they get offered a unit, they could, they'll take B because that's the only one left. Same thing applies for the other studio 1 and 2 bedroom waiting lists. The only other thing I think I'll say before I do the drawing is, and I don't think this will be an issue, but you know, the certification you did to get into the lottery doesn't last forever. It lasts for 6 months from the lottery date, which is September 7th. So as long as you move in before September 7th, you're good. If for some reason you move in after that, you would have to update your file with us to show that you haven't become ineligible in the interim period. Hopefully that doesn't ever become an issue. Hopefully everyone's moving in well before then, but just wanted to raise it in case anyone isn't. And then just bear in mind, if you do move into a unit, every year you need to update your file to show that you're still eligible for the program. You have to do a recertification, but you know, you will have already been through that process, and the program does allow for income increases of existing tenants, but still allow you to maintain eligibility for the program. So you can, you know, if in the year that you're living there, your income can go up by 140%, but you can still stay in the unit. All right, are there any questions before I do? Okay, I see a question here. So the question is, so if I win the lottery tonight, I can wait until September to actually move in? Well, okay, so it's a good question. September would be the latest that you could move in, and your lottery certification would still be good. The leasing office may very well set a date that's well before that. They're not looking, you know, if their units are ready, they probably aren't looking to hold them off the market for 6 months. I'm sure they want to get people into them. So I was merely saying that that's how long your lottery certification is good for before you'd have to update your materials to show that you're still eligible. But very likely, if you are eligible, the leasing office is going to want you to move in if the unit's ready well before September. Let's see, okay. Any other questions before I do the drawing? And then I'll take questions after I do the drawing. So if you don't think of something now, that's fine too. All right, so let me just close this. Give me a sec here. I'm just going to bring something up, and then I will share my screen. Okay, I'm going to turn, let's see here. Okay, so sec here, so I'm sharing my screen. You should see a Excel spreadsheet with 7 numbers in it. This is my local preference lottery households. I think I mentioned before there were 7 of them. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 7. I'm going to copy and paste them. This is random.org. This is the list randomizer function. I'm going to pop them in here. And then I'm going to hit randomize. And it is going to spit out a totally new order for me. So A.003, A.007, A.001, A.008, A.005, A.006, and then A.002. Let me just put this here. I'll save that. Again, these are not the waiting list. So if you're sitting there watching this right now saying, what does this mean exactly? It means being drawn higher on the list is better than being drawn later in the list. But that's really all it means. I still need to sort the results onto the different waiting lists before you really know what it means. And I'm going to do that after we do this lottery. So, okay, so that was the local drawing. Now I'm going to do the general drawing, which, as I mentioned, includes those 7 households, plus the 2 households who didn't have local preference. So this is every household who was in the lottery. All right. And we're going to hit randomize. All right, and here's our new order. Let me just actually bring this over, and I'll read it out just in case anyone's having trouble seeing it. So it's You know what, I'm not gonna say A, okay? I'm just gonna say the number. So it's 005, 003, 008, 004, 006, 007, 001, 002, 009. Let me show you something else too, which might help just one sec here. You've all seen the info pack, but just in case this can help. Okay, so here are the different waiting lists, and here's how they get populated from the lottery drawing. So as an example, tonight, after this meeting ends, I'm going to start making the waiting list. And let's say the first one I make is this 2-bedroom waiting list at 80% of AMI, this one here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go, and this one had local preference. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the local drawing, the one I did first. I'm going to find the type 2 households who had local preference. I'm going to take them in the order they were drawn, and I'm going to put them on the waiting list. Then I'm going to go to that general drawing I did, and that was the second one. I'm going to take all the type 2 households who didn't have local preference in that drawing, and I'm going to put them on the second tier. They'll go behind these folks. Then I'm going to go back to the first drawing I did, the local preference drawing. I'm going to take all the type 1 households in the order, in the local drawing order, and put them on the waiting list here in the third tier. And then lastly, I'm going to go back to the general drawing, and I'm going to take all non-local preference households who were type 1, and I'm going to put them on the fourth tier here. So that's just an example of how the 2-bedroom sort would go, and then I'll do the same thing for the other waiting lists. And then that's what we'll send around to you either tonight or first thing tomorrow, and you'll just find your position on the waiting list, or waiting lists plural, because some people may have applied for more than 1 unit size and been eligible for more than 1 unit size. So you may have a position on more than one waiting list. Okay, so there's a question about the order of the first drawing. Sure. And actually, let me just share screen again. So here's the order from the first drawing. The order was A.003, A.007, A.001, A.008, A.005, A.006, and A.002. Again, that's not the waiting list, okay? That's just the order you were drawn in the drawing, which informs the waiting list, but it is not actually the waiting list itself. So when we send the waiting list tonight or tomorrow morning, that's where you'll see exactly where you are relative to other households in the lottery. Are there other questions? Other questions? Anyone?
It looks like someone asked for the order to be reread for the drawing.
Yeah, that's what I just did.
Okay, sorry.
No, that's
Just
all right.
chat.
That's all right. All right. Well, that's it. It's quick. We'll get those waiting lists out soon. If you think of a question that you wanted to ask and forgot to ask now, we're not going anywhere. We'll be involved. So you can certainly, reach out to us. But your next point of contact will be with Alex and the leasing office, and they'll be inviting households to, I think, come to the property and complete lease applications. and hopefully people are lease eligible and can move in and really enjoy this nice new community. So I really appreciate all of your interest. Best of luck moving forward. Any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Be happy to help you. Thanks for attending tonight. I hope it was somewhat clear how this works, and we'll get those waiting lists out to you as soon as we can, and certainly by tomorrow morning. Oh, one more question. So it looks like everyone that applied got in. So everyone, well, not everyone who applied to the lottery got in the lottery, but everyone who got into the lottery will be on a waiting list. So nobody wins or loses anything in the lottery. The lottery just establishes from the 9 households who were eligible for the lottery, what position are they going to be in. But there were certainly other households who applied to the lottery who didn't get in for one reason or another. So the 9 households that were in this lottery were the 9 who did get in, and they all get positions on the waiting list. So all we're doing is just determining where on the waiting list they are. Any other questions? All right, folks. Oh, sorry. Okay, after you qualify income assets-wise, I meant. The question is, someone got in after you qualify income assets-wise. I'm sorry, I don't know what this question is. Can you elaborate a little bit, or if you want to take yourself off mute and just ask, I'm happy to talk it out with you. Here, I'll give you the chance to unmute if you want. You don't have to. If you prefer to just type it, that's fine. SEB did not accept applications until they checked income assets for eligibility. Right, as part of our function for the lottery, we had to check households' income and assets to make sure they met the program criteria. Yep, so every household who was in the lottery met the income and asset criteria. And the question is, so did every SEB accepted application end on waiting list? Yep, all the 9 households who SEB determined were program eligible were in the lottery and will be on the waiting list that will be sent to you. Correct. Happy to help. All right, I think that's it. So I'm going to end this. Thanks, everyone, and best of luck moving forward. Good night.